Welcome, Gurujans and Sadhaks, to the deep dive. It's truly wonderful to be sharing this space with you today.
It really is.
And we want to frame this, well, this exploration as a humble offering, really. It's a service to our Parampara. It's been made possible by Guru Jacques, who's been using the incredible tools of NotebookLM.
Amazing technology.
It really is. And we present this with just profound respect and deep gratitude. It's a gift in honor of our beloved Guruji Sadguru Hagi and Paramguruji Sreenivasulu.
Their guidance illuminates everything.
Absolutely. And, you know, the mission for this particular series, it feels deeply important to us.
Yeah.
We want to lovingly bring back to life some of the invaluable content, the profound wisdom that's often kind of hidden away.
Right. In older recordings, maybe, or texts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things from our revered lineage that perhaps the audio quality isn't great, or maybe they're not in English.
Making it accessible.
That's the goal. So today we're diving deep into a truly seminal text for our path.
A foundational one.
It is. It's Adhyatma Vikas by Shri Swami Vishnu Tirth Ji Maharaj, a really remarkable work published by Shri Peeth Trust.
And not just any book.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
This isn't something you just casually pick up. Its enduring relevance is so clear when you look at the multiple editions.
Spanning decades. Right?
Decades. From Sambat 2007, which is roughly our 1950s.
Wow.
All the way up to Sambat 2071, so like the 2010s.
That really says something about its value.
It underscores the timeless wisdom inside. Absolutely. We're really approaching this deep dive as a dedicated effort, you know, to make this precious knowledge accessible to you.
A reminder.
A reminder of its enduring transformative value for every single one of us on this spiritual journey. So, where should we start? Let's unpack this.
Well, what's fascinating here, right from the outset with Adhyatma Vikas, is the sheer dedication to spiritual growth that just permeates every page.
You feel it immediately.
You do.
Yeah.
The publishers, and of course the revered author, Shri Swami Vishnu Tirth Maharaj, they make it crystal clear. The book's purpose isn't just academic theorizing. No.
It's rooted deeply in lived experience, the transcendent experiences of the ancient rishis, munis, yogis, jnanas. It's built on that foundation.
So is it practical?
Extremely practical. It's not just a collection of ideas. It's an actionable guide aimed squarely at divine self-realization. And through that realization, the welfare of all humanity. That's the vision.
That's beautiful.
So, in essence, this text serves as this incredibly valuable roadmap for spiritual development.
A guide.
Exactly. Meticulously guiding not just the serious practitioners, you know, the Sadhaks, but also sincere inquirers, the jnanas, guiding them towards profound understanding and ultimately towards liberation.
So it's really a distillation of practical wisdom.
Straight from the heart of our tradition, yes. It's powerful stuff.
That is a powerful starting point, and very practical, as you say. It grounds the wisdom right away in its real purpose transformation. The text kicks off by reflecting this ancient wisdom, this view of human life as having, well, three distinct parts.
But interconnected. Deeply interconnected, yes. The physical, the mental, and the spiritual.
Right.
And within this framework, the spiritual life, it's consistently presented as the ultimate goal.
The pinnacle.
Exactly. It's not just about living a good life in the worldly sense. It's about establishing a profound connection with the Paramatma, the Supreme Self.
The ultimate reality.
And through that connection, achieving liberation from that continuous, often difficult cycle of birth and death.
Bhava
Bhava, exactly. So, you know, for any sincere seeker, the immediate question that pops up is, how?
How do you actually do that?
Right. How does one achieve this liberation? And flowing from that, what's the crucial role of a Sadguru, an enlightened teacher, in this whole profound sacred journey?
Well, to really get a handle on the path to liberation, the text guides us right back to the source. It starts there.
Makes sense.
It emphasizes the foundational role of the Vedas. Our source material points out quite clearly that the Vedas are considered the origin of all dharma, all spiritual science.
The very beginning.
The very beginning. It's believed, you know, that all prevalent religions, and even those yet to come, ultimately draw their core essence from these ancient texts.
That's a huge statement.
It is. And this vast body of knowledge, it's traditionally organized into three main sections, or khandas.
Okay.
First, you have the karma kanda. This focuses on actions, rituals, the performance of duties, often, you know, with an eye towards worldly well-being or maybe heavenly rewards.
That is rituals and actions.
Then there's the Brahmana or Aranyaka section. This goes deeper into sacrificial rites, their precise execution, and often their deeper, more mystical meanings.
More interpretation.
Exactly. And finally, and this is really crucial for our deep dive into self-realization, there's the Upanishad or Jnanakanda.
The knowledge part.
The knowledge part. It centers entirely on ultimate knowledge, ultimate truth. It really delves into the nature of Brahman and Atman, the big question.
Right, the core philosophical stuff.
Absolutely. And from these profound Vedic roots, this huge body of Smriti literature emerged over time.
Like commentaries and expansions.
Sort of, yeah. These include revered texts like the Dharma Sutras, the Darshanas, the philosophical schools.
Okay.
And these Smriti texts, they expanded significantly on, well, pretty much all aspects of human existence.
Right.
Everything from intricate social conduct, principles of statecraft, ethics, moral principles, spiritual philosophies.
Wow, comprehensive.
Very. They essentially provide practical applications and detailed elaborations of that core Vedic wisdom for, daily life and intellectual understanding.
Making it usable.
Exactly. Now, to make this immense, and let's be honest, often complex wisdom accessible for a more general understanding for the masses.
Yeah, they can be dense.
It can. So the Vedic literature was further distilled, you could say, and presented in two primary, more relatable forms.
Okay, what are those?
There's the Tantric, which generally focus more on yoga and Upasana devotional practices, energetic work, that sort of thing.
Practical techniques.
Yes. And then the Puranic. These are just rich with captivating stories, narratives, historical events. They make complex spiritual truths relatable.
Through stories and myths.
Exactly. Through myth and legend.
Yeah.
And understanding this layered historical context, this structure, it's absolutely vital.
What is that?
Because it beautifully sets the stage.
Yeah.
It helps us understand why certain concepts, like this inquiry into Brahman we're about to discuss, become so central, so intricately developed within our spiritual traditions.
Okay. It gives the background.
Precisely, including the profound wisdom that's meticulously laid out in Adhyatma Vikas. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It has deep roots.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. It's like understanding the foundations before you look at the building.
Yeah.
A really clear breakdown of that ancient landscape.
Glad it helps.
It shows just how deeply rooted and interconnected all these concepts really are, each one building on the last. And, well, it leads us right to the core inquiry, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that really drives so much of this spiritual pursuit.
Brahma Jinasa.
Brahma Jinasa. The desire, or maybe more accurately, the inquiry into Brahman.
The seeking.
Yes. And, it's not presented as some dry academic pursuit of philosophical knowledge.
No, far from it.
The text frames it as a deeply personal, experiential quest. It's about self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding conveyed is just profound. Knowing Brahman isn't merely about intellectual comprehension, gathering facts. It is, in itself, the path to liberation.
Knowing is freeing.
It's the ultimate awakening that frees you from all limitations. And here's where it gets really interesting, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
This isn't just about reading something in a book. It's about becoming something.
Exactly. And the text makes this unequivocally clear. Brahma Jinasa is far, far more than just intellectually studying scriptures or, engaging in philosophical debates.
It's deeper.
Much deeper. It's a profound actualization, you could call it, or realization of Brahman.
Experiencing it directly.
Directly. The truth, as it's presented, is that until the ultimate reality, the Paramatma, is directly and experientially known, any scriptural knowledge, no matter how vast or theoretically sound it might seem, it just remains incomplete.
Like the recipe versus the taste.
Perfect analogy. Like having a detailed recipe, knowing every single ingredient, but never actually tasting the dish itself.
Right.
And for this inquiry into Brahman to truly blossom, to really bear fruit, the mind first has to overcome the powerful effects of Rajaguna.
Passion, restlessness.
That quality of passion, activity, restlessness, yes. And Tamaguna.
Inertia, dullness.
The quality of inertia, darkness, ignorance. When these mental impurities are subdued, when the mind isn't constantly agitated or just dull.
Then there's space.
Then there's space for true sincerity, unwavering faith, and genuine compassion to authentically emerge and really take root.
That makes sense. You need a clear mind for such a deep inquiry.
You do. And the text also points out a really common and significant misconception.
Oh, What's that?
Many seekers, perhaps understandably, mistakenly believe that intellectual understanding alone is enough.
Just knowing the concepts.
Right. They might gather immense knowledge, become very learned, but for true direct experience, what's called aparoksha anukuti,
The direct seeing.
the direct seeing, the immediate experience, deeper spiritual practices are absolutely necessary. You simply can't just think your way to it.
It requires transformation, not just information.
Precisely. The profound statement cited from the text is that the one who knows Brahman becomes Brahman.
Wow.
And that's not meant metaphorically. It signifies a complete transformation, transcending ordinary human existence and truly dwelling in the state of Brahman, the absolute.
Beyond the everyday self.
Completely. To quote the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na Shochati na Kangshati,
Meaning?
which translates roughly to, one who has attained the Brahman state is joyful, grieves not, nor desires.
A powerful description of that state.
It perfectly encapsulates the transformative nature of this realization. So ultimately, true knowledge, as presented in Adhyatma Vikas, isn't just intellectual head knowledge.
No.
It's a profound and complete transformation where the seeker experiences Brahman within themselves directly, unmistakably.
As a lived reality.
As a lived reality. As the Gita also states, Tat Samyoga Siddha Kalena Mani Vindati. It implies that one who is established in yoga in due course finds Brahman within oneself.
Through practice and time.
Exactly. It is this direct lived experience that is the culmination, the true purpose of Brahma Jinasa. It's the difference, really, between knowing about freedom and actually being free.
That distinction is just, it's everything, isn't it? Between
Yes.
knowing about it and being it. And it's a theme Adhyatma Vikas keeps coming back to, guiding us deeper. So let's dive now into what the text says about the actual nature of this supreme reality, this Brahman, and how it relates so intimately to our own human experience.
The connection.
Yes, the source material introduces a concept that, can sometimes seem complex at first, but it's fundamental to understanding everything else.
The nature of Ishvara, or Brahman.
Exactly, the supreme reality.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how the text discusses both the personal saguna and the impersonal nirguna aspects of God.
Not in either.
Not in either scenario at all, but rather a deeper, more complete understanding of one ultimate truth. It embraces both perspectives.
Precisely. The text first acknowledges the two prevalent philosophical streams regarding the divine. There's Ishvaravada, theism, yes, believing in a personal God with specific attributes, qualities. And then there's Anishvaravada.
Atheism or non-theism.
Right, encompassing atheism or non-theism where the concept of a personal God isn't central or perhaps is even denied.
Okay.
But, and this is important, the text notes that even some non-theists might still believe in the Atman, the individual soul, as a fundamental reality.
Interesting distinction.
It is. Now, Adhyatma Vikas clarifies that while many religions, like Christianity or Islam, primarily conceive of Ishvara as a personal God, the Upanishads, which are really foundational to this particular stream of wisdom, largely describe the supreme reality as absolute and impersonal, as Nirguna Brahman.
Beyond qualities.
Beyond all qualities, this Nirguna Brahman is characterized as, unmanifest, immutable, timeless, beyond any attributes you could name.
So how is it described then?
As pure existent consciousness bliss. Satchitananda.
Satchitananda.
Yes. It's not something you can pin down with adjectives or limitations because it is the totality of existence, the ground of being itself.
That's hard to grasp intellectually.
It is, which is why the text uses a beautiful and very practical analogy to help us.
Okay.
It compares Brahman to light and the objects that light illuminates.
Okay, light and objects.
So just as light illuminates various objects, right, it reveals their forms, their colors, yet the light itself remains unaffected, completely distinct from the qualities of those objects.
Right, the light doesn't become red just because it shines on a red wall.
Exactly. In the same way, the Atman, which is pure consciousness, eliminates the entire world of our experience. It's the very ground of existence, the knowing principle within us.
The awareness.
The awareness. Yet it remains distinct from the world it reveals.
Oh.
The world in this view is seen more like a reflection, a manifestation, but not the ultimate reality itself.
It's dependent on the light, the consciousness.
Precisely. And this leads us right into the critical concept of atyasa.
Superimposition.
Superimposition, yes. This is described as the fundamental error we make. Mistaking the non-self, our physical body, our mind, our ego.
All the changing stuff.
All the changing stuff. Mistaking that for the true self, the unchanging Atman. This misidentification, according to the text, is the absolute root cause of all our suffering.
Believing we are what we are not.
Perfectly put. It's like that classic example, seeing a snake in a piece of rope in dim light because of ignorance.
Right. The rope was always just a rope.
Always just a rope.
Yeah.
But our ignorance superimposes the idea of a snake onto it, and that causes fear, causes suffering. Similarly, we superimpose the qualities and limitations of the transient body and mind onto the eternal, pure Atman. And that creates the illusion of being bound or being subject to suffering. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, as the outline suggests, it really highlights how much of our perceived reality and indeed our suffering stems not really from external circumstances,
But from inside.
but from these internal misidentifications, from simply not seeing things, including ourselves, as they truly are.
That analogy of the light, and especially the snake and the rope, it really does help clarify Adhyasa. It makes you realize how easily we get tangled up in illusions just by not discerning properly.
It's a constant process of discernment.
It seems so. And speaking of layers that kind of veil our true self, the text then shifts focus to the concept of the 5 koshas.
Sheaths.
The sheaths, yes. These are often described as coverings that appear to envelop the pure Atman, leading us to believe we are something other than our true, luminous, unbounded nature.
Like layers of clothing hiding the real person.
That's a good way to put it. So can you walk us through each of these 5 layers, as described in the source, and maybe give us a sense of why understanding them is so vital?
Absolutely. The text lays out these 5 koshas, not just as abstract layers, but as the very veils that create our illusion of limitation.
Okay.
And the profound insight here is that by understanding how each layer functions, we're basically given a map, a precise map to systematically peel them back and reveal the boundless Atman within.
Right. Know the obstacle to overcome it.
Exactly. Let's start with the outermost, the most tangible one, the Annamaya kosha,
The food sheath.
the food sheath. This is our physical body, the grossest layer, quite literally sustained and built by the food we consume.
Makes sense. Anna means food.
Precisely. The text emphasizes here that vital energy, prana, and also reproductive fluids, virya, are considered manifestations of sat existence and raj activity powers within this physical sheath.
Okay.
And crucially, maintaining brahmacharya or continence is presented as essential for accumulating and preserving these energies.
Why is that so important?
Because these energies are seen as vital for spiritual progress. They form the foundation, the necessary fuel for the subtler practices.
Got it. Building the base.
Building the base. Next inward is the pranamaya kosha.
The vital air sheath.
The vital air sheath, yes. This is composed of prana and apana, representing the life force itself that animates and controls all our physical and mental activities.
The energy body.
The energy body, you could say. Its regulation through pranayama, breath control, is key to gaining mastery over the senses and the mind.
We'll come back to pranayama, I'm sure.
Definitely. The text specifically mentions the 5 main pranas, prana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana, each playing a distinct role in our physiological functions. Inhalation, exhalation, circulation, digestion, all that.
Okay, pranamaya. What's next?
Then we have the manamaya kosha.
The mind sheath.
The mind sheath. This is the realm of our thoughts, our emotions, our perceptions. It's where sankalpa vikalpa plays out.
Sutapa vikalpa.
That constant stream of intention and doubt, resolution and indecision, the mind's flickering.
Ah, the mental chatter.
The mental chatter. The text highlights that controlling these modifications of the mind is absolutely crucial for achieving inner peace and a stable mental state. A restless mind simply cannot perceive truth clearly.
Makes sense. Need stillness to see clearly.
Precisely. Moving deeper beyond the mind is the Vijnanamaya kosha.
The intellect sheath.
The intellect sheath. This is the sheath of knowledge, intellect, discernment. It's responsible for our ability to discriminate, to judge, to understand.
The discerning faculty.
Yes, and the purification of this intellectual layer is seen as a direct path leading towards self-realization, because it allows for that clear discernment of the real from the unreal, the eternal from the ephemeral.
Viveka, discrimination happens here.
Primarily here, yes.
Right.
And finally, the innermost sheath, the Anandamaya kosha.
The bliss sheath.
The bliss sheath. Now, this is the subtle layer closest to the Atman, and for this very reason, it's often mistaken for the Atman itself.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Because it's where we experience a kind of bliss. But the text describes it not as the Atman, but as a reflection of the Atman's inherent bliss.
Just a reflection.
Just a reflection. This is the bliss we might experience in deep, dreamless sleep, or during moments of pure joy or profound contentment. But it's still considered a conditioned state.
Not the real thing.
Not the unconditioned, ultimate Atman itself. It's a temporary reflection, dependent on conditions, not the source of bliss.
That's a very subtle but critical distinction.
It is. And the overarching emphasis here, throughout the discussion of the koshas, is that the ultimate goal of spiritual practice is to systematically transcend, to go beyond all 5 of these sheaths.
Peel back the layers.
Peel back the layers, exactly. To realize the true, pure, ever-free nature of the Atman, which lies beneath them all, completely untouched and unconditioned by them.
They are like signposts, or maybe obstacles, depending on how you relate to them.
Well put. Stepping stones, perhaps, or veils to be consciously removed.
That systematic breakdown is incredibly clear. It really shows how deeply we often identify with these layers instead of the pure Atman shining within. And that point about an Annamaya kosha being just a reflection.
Wow. It prevents complacency, doesn't it? Mistaking a pleasant state for the final goal.
It really does. So building on this understanding of our layered existence, let's bring in those concepts of jiva, the individual soul, and prakriti, universal nature or matter. How do these 2 fundamental aspects interact, according to Adhyatma Vikas? Understanding their relationship seems key to figuring out our place in the cosmos.
Indeed, the relationship between Jiva and Prakriti is absolutely central to the Vedic understanding of creation and, well, our place within it all.
Okay.
The text explains that Prakriti, nature or matter, has 2 primary forms. There's Paraprakriti,
Higher nature.
higher superior nature, yes, and Aparaprakriti, the lower nature.
Okay, higher and lower. What's the difference?
The upper Prakriti, the lower nature, is composed of this complex array of 8 fundamental components or elements. It includes the gross elements we know.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether.
Right. And also the subtle components, mind, intellect, and ego. These 8 constitute the material and mental dimensions of the universe we experience.
The manifest world.
The manifest world, exactly. Now, the jiva, the individual soul, is beautifully described as being a part of the para-prakriti, the higher nature.
So the soul is part of the higher nature.
Yes. This higher nature is what sustains the entire universe. It's the animating principle, the very life force behind all existence.
Got it.
Now, the jiva, in its journey through this manifest existence, assumes 3 distinct bodies. The text details these meticulously.
Okay, the 3 bodies, what are they?
First, there's the stula sharira,
The gross body.
the gross physical body, the one we perceive directly with our senses, made of the gross elements of a paraprakriti, our visible, tangible form.
Simple enough.
Then it gets more subtle. There's the sukshma sharira,
The subtle body.
the subtle body. And this is far more intricate, more dynamic than the physical. It's composed of subtle elements. Specifically, the 5 senses of action, like speech, grasping.
Karmendriyas.
Yes. The 5 senses of knowledge, like sight, hearing.
Yadindriyas.
Right. The 5 pranas we just discussed, prana, apana, and so on, plus the mind and the intellect.
That's 17 components.
17 components in total, yes. And this subtle body is incredibly important because it's the vehicle that carries the impressions, the vasanas, and the karmas from past lives.
So that's where karma resides.
Primarily in the subtle body, yes. It influences our experiences in the present and shapes our future. It's essentially the blueprint of our personality, our tendencies, our karmic baggage.
Wow. Okay, that's crucial. What's the 3rd body?
The 3rd and most subtle is the karana sharira.
The causal body.
The causal body. This is described as the repository of avidya, fundamental ignorance, and all our past tendencies stored in seed form.
The root of it all.
It forms the very basis for future births and experiences. It's the seed from which our subsequent gross and subtle bodies arise in each life.
Ignorance itself as a body? That's profound.
It is. And the profound insight that's reinforced throughout the text, tying this all together, is that the Atman, our true self, is eternally pure, free, and completely distinct from these 3 bodies.
So the Atman isn't the bodies.
Not at all. These bodies are products of Prakriti and Avidya, not the Atman itself. The illusion of I and mine, what we call ahamkara or ego, arises precisely from identifying the pure Atman with these limiting adjuncts, these bodies which belong to Prakriti.
Back to Adhyasa again.
It always comes back to Adhyasa. Understanding the separation between the Atman and the 3 bodies is absolutely crucial. It lays the groundwork for grasping the true nature of our bondage.
Why we feel limited.
Exactly. And consequently, it reveals the clear path to liberation. If you know what's binding you, you know what needs to be undone.
That clarifies so much. The jiva, prakriti, the 3 bodies carrying karma and ignorance, but the Atman always separate. It brings us back to prana too, which you mentioned as part of the subtle body.
Yes. Prana is key to the sukshma sharira.
So if prana is so fundamental, let's really dive into pranapasana now, the worship or mastery of prana. What's the deep significance of prana in spiritual awakening, and how exactly does controlling it help a sadhak progress?
Pranapasana is indeed presented as a pivotal practice in Adhyatma Vikas, and the text is clear. Prana is far more than just the physical breath we take in and out.
It's more fundamental.
Much more. It's the fundamental spiritual energy, the very life force Shakti that animates everything in the universe. From the subtlest thought flickering in the mind to the largest celestial body moving through space, it's the cosmic energy flowing through all beings.
Wow. Okay.
So when one gains control over prana, it's understood to directly lead to control over the senses and ultimately control over the mind itself.
Mind follows prana.
That's a key principle. The process of spiritual awakening is deeply intertwined with the awakening and the channeling of prana. When this life force is activated, when it's channeled upwards, spiritual power rises within the sadhak. And this rising power helps them to systematically subdue the restless senses, which constantly pull us outwards, and to concentrate the ever-fickle mind. It's seen as a direct route to inner mastery.
Controlling the energy controls the system.
In essence, yes. And as we touched on with the pranamaya kosha, those 5 vital airs, prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, each have specific roles in our physical and mental functions.
Right.
The key insight here is that all these are powered by the main prana. By controlling their subtle movements through practices like pranayama, we gain control over the entire internal apparatus.
So pranayama is the key technique.
It's a primary technique discussed, and the core message is profound. Prana is not seen as separate from Brahman. It is a direct manifestation of Brahman itself, of the divine energy.
Prana is Brahman in a sense.
Yeah. As a manifestation, yes. Therefore, its disciplined control through pranayama is presented not just as a health practice, but as a direct and potent path towards spiritual realization.
That elevates pranayama significantly.
It does. Furthermore, the importance of brahmacharya, continence, is reiterated specifically in this context of prana.
Why the connection again?
Because brahmacharya is seen as crucial for the accumulation of spiritual energy, often referred to as virya or ojas. This energy is strongly linked to prana.
Conserving energy.
Conserving and transmuting it. This accumulated energy is considered essential for subduing negative traits like anger, lust, fear, major obstacles on the spiritual path. It's like accumulating internal fuel for the journey upwards.
Building inner strength.
Exactly. And through the systematic regulation of breath and pranayama, the sadhak progressively refines their prana. They move from experiencing it in gross ways to more subtle states of being.
From physical breath to subtle energy.
Precisely. This gradual refinement can lead the practitioner from understanding and experiencing the saguna Brahman with attributes, with form.
And eventually, if the practice is continued with unwavering dedication towards the realization of the Nirguna Brahman beyond all attributes, the formless absolute.
So pranayama purifies the path.
It purifies the path, yes.
Yeah.
The text specifically highlights how pranayama contributes to the purification of the inner self, the antakarana. It helps to remove the veils of ignorance, the avarana, that obscure our true nature.
A covering power.
Yes. And it dissipates the distractions, the vikshepa, that cause mental restlessness and pull the mind outwards.
The projecting power.
Right. Through mastering prana, the path becomes clearer, the obstacles lessen, and the inner light of the Atman can shine forth more brightly. It's about bringing that inner chaos into a state of divine order.
That's a really profound connection. Prana as a direct manifestation of Brahman. It makes pranayama feel incredibly sacred, incredibly powerful, not just, a breathing exercise.
It imbues it with deep spiritual significance.
Definitely. Now, if individual prana is so significant, how does it connect to that larger cosmic force? You mentioned Hiranyagarbha. Yes, Hiranyagarbha or Vibhu prana.
Vibhu prana, the universal consciousness. How does our individual breath, our individual life force, relate to this vast cosmic life energy? It sounds like bridging the microcosm and the macrocosm.
That's precisely what the text explores here. It's about understanding our connection to the totality. Hiranyagarbha, which is also called Vibhu prana or universal consciousness, is defined as the cosmic manifestation of prana.
The prana of the whole universe.
Essentially, yes. It's described as the collective subtle body of the entire universe. Think of it as the sum total of all subtle bodies of all living beings woven together.
Wow. Like a cosmic subtle body.
Exactly. So just as our individual subtle body, our sukshma sharira, is animated by our individual prana, the entire cosmos, in this view, is sustained and animated by this grand universal prana Hiranyagarbha. It's the universal life pulse.
So how do we connect to that?
The connection to the individual jiva is explained beautifully. Each living being's individual prana is likened to a single wave in the vast, boundless ocean of this cosmic prana.
Ah, the wave and ocean analogy.
It's a classic for a reason. Our individual life force isn't separate or isolated. It's an integral, inseparable part of this universal life energy. We are expressions of it.
That's a comforting thought, in a way. Not being alone.
It implies inherent unity. The text also discusses the phenomenon of witnessing divine lights or manifestations internally.
You mentioned Jyotirmaya Brahma Svarupa.
Yes, the forms of Brahman made of light. Witnessing these within the self is presented as a direct result of profound spiritual practice, particularly concentration and purification through things like pranayama.
What kind of lights?
These can manifest as the brilliance of the sun, the soft glow of the moon, the twinkling of stars, the heat and light of fire, or the sudden flash of lightning.
Seen internally.
Seen internally, yes. These aren't just memories or imaginations of external phenomena. They're seen as direct inner expressions or glimpses of Brahman itself, experienced within as the sadhak progresses. It's the inner vision opening up.
A sign of progress.
A sign of the concentration of spiritual energy, yes. A glimpse of the divine light within. And to further illustrate this relationship between the individual jiva and the cosmic Ishvara, or Brahman, the text refers back to the timeless wisdom of the Mundaka Upanishad.
The two birds on the tree.
Exactly, that famous passage. Two birds are perched on the same tree, the tree representing the body or creation.
Okay.
One bird, representing the jiva, the individual soul, is busy experiencing and eating the fruits of the tree. These fruits symbolize our actions and their karmic consequences, both sweet and bitter.
Getting caught up in experience.
Right. The other bird, representing Ishvara or Brahman, the Supreme Self, simply observes. It sits there untouched, unperturbed by the experiences, a silent, detached witness.
Just watching.
Just watching. The profound teaching here is that when the individual bird, the jiva, finally stops frantically eating the fruits and recognizes, truly realizes, the presence and nature of the other bird, Ishvara, Brahman.
Its own higher self.
Its own higher self, the witness. It transcends all sorrow and attains liberation. That recognition is the liberation.
Realizing you are the witness, not just the experiencer.
Precisely. It's the merging of that individual wave back into the cosmic ocean. A realization of inherent unity, not just as an idea, but as a lived, undeniable experience. So maybe a point for reflection for you listening. What stands out to you about this profound connection, this link between your own individual life force and this vast universal energy? How might it reframe your understanding of your own vitality and its incredible potential?
Wow, that image of the two birds and the wave merging back into the ocean. It really helps visualize our place in this grand scheme, doesn't it?
It provides powerful metaphors.
It makes you wonder how much of our perceived limitation is simply because we're too busy eating the fruits, not recognizing that other bird, the witness self, right there with us.
It's a compelling thought.
And it leads us perfectly to the absolute heart of the matter for any spiritual seeker. The core concepts of bandha, bondage, and moksha, liberation.
The fundamental problem and the ultimate solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, according to Adhyatma Vikas, what is it that actually binds us to this cycle of existence? And how do we ultimately break free? What's the diagnosis and what's the cure?
The text is exceptionally clear on this, and it's a crucial insight we need to grasp. Liberation, moksha, is fundamentally achieved by knowing Brahman, by realizing our true nature.
Knowledge is key.
Yes, but a specific kind of knowledge, as we'll see. Now, the mind and intellect, remember, they are distinct from the Atman, but they are the very instruments through which the Atman's consciousness manifests and operates in the world.
The tools we use.
The tools we use. The crucial point made is that true bondage stems primarily from avidya.
Ignorance again.
Fundamental ignorance. And it's not just a lack of information like not knowing a fact. It's a deep-seated misperception, a cognitive error that leads us to wrongly identify with the body, the mind, the ego.
Believing we are the tools, not the user.
Excellent way to put it. This misidentification makes us mistakenly believe that I am the karta, the doer of actions, and I am the bhokta, the enjoyer or sufferer of their fruits.
Taking ownership of everything.
Exactly. This false identification, this mistaken I am the body or I am the mind belief, is described as the primary chain that binds us.
Okay.
The text then details the role of punya, merit, and papa demerit. These are the positive and negative karmic imprints generated by our actions, fueled by that sense of doership.
Good and bad karma.
Right. And these bind the jiva to the continuous cycle of transmigration, samsara. Our accumulated karmas, whether we deem them good or bad, determine our future births, our future experiences, ensuring the cycle just keeps rolling on. Until ignorance is dispelled. It's like a perpetual motion machine driven by our actions and their consequences, all based on that initial misidentification.
Seems inescapable.
It can seem that way. But the text emphasizes a really profound truth here. The Atman, in its pure, unconditioned form, is eternally free. It is never truly bound.
So the binding is an illusion.
It's the identification with the limiting adjuncts, the upadis, like the mind and intellect, that creates the illusion of bondage. The Atman merely appears to be bound.
Like the crystal appearing red.
Exactly like the pure, colorless crystal appearing to take on the color of a nearby red flower. Its intrinsic nature remains pure and unchanged. The Atman is always free. We just forget it.
We superimpose limitation onto freedom.
Precisely. And most importantly, Adhyatma Vikas introduces the profound concept that liberation requires overcoming vasanas.
The latent impressions.
The latent impressions, the subtle desires, the tendencies from past experiences that lie dormant within our subtle body. They're like seeds waiting to sprout.
Seeds of future action.
Exactly. They are the root cause of all future karma and subsequent births. As long as these vasanas are active, they propel us back into the cycle of existence, driving our desires, shaping our thoughts, fueling our actions.
So they keep the cycle going.
They keep the wheel turning. The path to freedom, therefore, involves systematically thinning out and ultimately burning these vasanas through dedicated spiritual practice, rendering them ineffective, like roasted seeds that can no longer sprout.
Destroying the seeds of future suffering.
That's the goal. And this really does raise an important question for all of us listening, doesn't it? What does this mean for our daily lives? How should we approach our spiritual practice, given that this bondage, and therefore liberation, seems to be primarily an inner battle, not an external one?
It completely shifts the battleground, doesn't it? From changing the world outside to transforming the perception inside.
Absolutely. The focus becomes internal purification.
Right. If bondage is this internal misidentification, adhyasa and vasanas are the very seeds of our future experiences, then the path to liberation must involve a profound shift in understanding.
A radical shift.
Not just intellectually, but experientially. And this leads us perfectly to that critical distinction the text makes between paraksha jnana,
indirect knowledge,
and aparaksha jnana.
Direct knowledge, experiential realization.
Why is this direct experiential knowledge considered so absolutely crucial for liberation? And how exactly is it attained? Is the indirect knowledge, the reading and studying, kind of useless without the direct experience?
That's an excellent question. Adhyatma Vikas, like all of Vedanta really, stresses this distinction as absolutely paramount. It's not that one is useless, but they have different roles.
Okay.
Paraksha jnana, indirect knowledge, is defined as that intellectual understanding we get from, say, reading scriptures, listening to talks like this one, or engaging in logical reasoning.
Learning about it.
Learning about it. And while it's a necessary first step, you need the map, right? You need the travel guide. The text states very clearly that it is not sufficient for liberation. You can know everything there is to know about a beautiful destination, every street name, every landmark.
But you haven't been there.
But you haven't truly experienced its essence until you are physically there, immersed in it, feeling the sun, breathing the air. So while paraksha jnana is the lamp that lights the way, it's not the destination itself.
Got it. Necessary but not sufficient.
Exactly. Paraksha jnana, on the other hand, is direct, immediate, experiential knowledge of Brahman. It's not thinking about Brahman, it's being Brahman.
The lived reality.
The lived reality. It's akin to knowing I am Brahman, not just as a concept rattling around in your head, but as an undeniably lived truth that transforms your entire being, your entire perception of reality.
Like the swimming example you used earlier.
Precisely. Imagine the difference between reading the most comprehensive book ever written on swimming hydrodynamics, buoyancy, stroke techniques.
Knowing all the theory.
And actually diving into the water and feeling the movement, the support of the water, the rhythm of your breath. That feeling is aparaksha jnana in that context.
Okay.
The text is resolute on this point. Liberation moksha is not achieved merely by hearing about Brahman or reading about Brahman. It states explicitly something like, without direct experience, Brahman cannot be attained.
Direct experience is the goal.
It is the ultimate goal, the very purpose of all this spiritual striving.
So how do we get there? How do we attain that direct knowledge?
Well, that's where the preparation comes in. The text outlines the Sadhana Chatushtaya.
The fourfold means.
The fourfold means or qualifications. These are considered indispensable prerequisites for anyone seriously embarking on Brahma Jignasa, the inquiry into Brahman, and aiming for Aparaksha Jnana. They're like the essential toolkit for the seeker.
Okay, what are the four?
First is viveka, discrimination. This is that keen ability to discern between the eternal, unchanging reality Brahman and the ephemeral, transient world, the non-self.
Seeing the difference between real and unreal.
Exactly. The clarity to separate the gold from the dross consistently. Second is vairagya.
Dispassion or detachment?
Dispassion, yes. And this isn't about apathy or indifference. It's a profound detachment from the fruits of actions and from all worldly enjoyments, both in this life and any potential future existence.
Letting go of outcomes.
Letting go of the craving for results, freeing yourself from their psychological grip. The text even describes 3 types of vairagya, indicating progressive levels of detachment from desires.
Okay, viveka, vairagya. What's third?
Third is the shat sampat, the 6-fold virtues or treasures. This is a group of 6 essential inner qualities that cultivate mental purity and stability. They work together.
6 virtues, what are they?
There's shama, tranquility, control of the mind, keeping it calm, not letting it wander aimlessly. Then dhamma, self-control, control of the external senses, preventing them from being constantly pulled outwards by objects of desire.
Mind control, sense control.
Yes. Then uparati, withdrawal. This isn't just stopping external actions, but a cessation of mental activity directed towards worldly objects. A deeper inner renunciation, like a mental pause button.
Inner stillness.
Inner stillness. Then titiksha, forbearance. The ability to endure the pairs of opposites, heat and cold, pain and pleasure, praise and blame without agitation or complaint. Inner resilience.
Endurance.
Right. Then shraddha, faith. Unwavering faith in the words of the Guru and the scriptures. It's the deep conviction that the path leads to the promised goal, even when it's difficult.
Trust in the process.
Trust in the process. And finally, samadhana, single-pointed concentration, the steadying of the mind on the ideal, on Brahman, fixing it firmly on the ultimate reality.
Focus mind. Okay, that's 6. What's the 4th part of Sadhana Chatushtaya?
The 4th, and perhaps the driving force, is mumukshutva.
Intense desire for liberation.
Intense desire for liberation, yes. A burning, unwavering longing for freedom from suffering, from the cycle of rebirth. It's described as a deep existential yearning for ultimate release, a profound spiritual hunger that propels the seeker forward relentlessly.
The motivation.
The driving motivation. These 4 qualities, the text explains viveka, vairagya, the shat sampat, and mumukshutva, they profoundly purify the mind. They prepare the seeker, make the mind fit for the ultimate direct realization.
They make Aparaksha Jnana possible.
They create the necessary conditions. It's the difference, again, between just reading the travel guide and actually packing your bags, training diligently, undertaking the hardships of the journey, and finally arriving to experience the place yourself. Only then does the knowledge truly become your own, an undeniable reality.
So we've covered the ultimate goal, Aparaksha Jnana, direct realization and the crucial inner qualities needed, the Sadhana Chatushtaya, to even pursue it seriously. Now let's explore the active practices, the sadhana, that are the essential tools for this spiritual journey as described in Adhyatma Vikas. What are the core practices a sadhak should embrace? How do they build on each other? It's the how-to part, really.
Exactly. This is the practical application. The text outlines a comprehensive set of practices, and it emphasizes that they aren't just isolated steps you tick off a list. They build upon each other, leading the sadhak progressively towards the deeper states of realization.
Like climbing a ladder.
Like climbing a ladder, or maybe building a structure brick by brick. It all starts, foundationally, with shraddha.
Faith. We mentioned that under Shat Sampat too.
Yes, it's fundamental. Here it's highlighted again as the basis for all spiritual progress. Without unwavering faith in the Guru, in the scriptures, in the process itself, it becomes incredibly difficult to comprehend these deep spiritual truths and to fully commit to the path, especially, when obstacles inevitably arise.
Need faith to persevere.
Absolutely. Next is tyaga, renunciation.
Giving things up.
Not necessarily in the way it's often misunderstood, just giving up external possessions. The text clarifies it primarily as giving up attachment to the fruits of action, karma, phala, tyaga.
Acting without attachment to results.
Precisely. And the cessation of egoistic desires fueling those actions, it's about performing your duties, your actions, without a personal, selfish motive, understanding that the results belong to the divine, not to the individual ego.
Okay, That's a subtle understanding of renunciation.
It's internal more than external. Then mona, silence.
Keeping quiet.
It's presented in various forms. There's vakmona, control over speech, refraining from idle gossip or unnecessary talk. Then manmona, control over thoughts, actively quieting the inner chatter, the mental noise.
Silence of the mind.
Yes. And even kayamona, control over actions, ensuring they are purposeful and not driven by mere impulse or restlessness. But the highest form, true silence of the mind, is described as a state of samadhi, where inner dialogue ceases completely and the mind rests peacefully in its true nature.
Profound silence.
Profound silence. The importance of ekanta desha, a solitary place, is also emphasized.
Environment matters.
It does. Finding a pure, tranquil, perhaps beautiful environment that's conducive to deep meditation and introspection, free from external distractions, is seen as vital for serious practice. It provides the ideal setting for this kind of deep inner work.
Makes sense. Minimize disturbances.
Exactly. Then comes asana, posture.
Sitting comfortably.
Steady and comfortable. The significance is highlighted by that famous phrase from the Yoga Sutras, sthira sukham asanam. A stable physical base is essential for prolonged meditation.
Right. If you're fidgeting, the mind wanders.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Specific postures, like siddhasana, padmasana, svastikasana, are mentioned as being particularly suitable for maintaining stillness over time.
Okay. Awesome.
The text also briefly touches upon some more subtle techniques. Internal physical locks, like mula bandha, the root lock, and specific drishtasiti, gaze fixation techniques, like gazing steadily at the tip of the nose. These are presented as aids for enhancing concentration and potentially for awakening dormant spiritual energy, like kundalini.
More advanced techniques.
Somewhat, yes. Aids to focus. Pranayama, breath control, is reiterated here as absolutely crucial.
Back to prana.
We discussed its vital role earlier as the controller of the life force, the mind. Here, it's presented as the practical means to regulate that prana through conscious, controlled breathing. This, in turn, calms and steadies the mind, preparing it for deeper states.
Regulating breath regulates mind.
It helps regulate the inflow and outflow of prana, leading to mental steadiness. And the text suggests it can guide the awareness progressively towards saguna and then ultimately nirguna Brahman.
Okay. After pranayama.
Following this is pratyahara, sense withdrawal.
Pulling the senses inward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Described as turning the senses inward, detaching them from external objects, it's not about forcefully suppressing the senses, but redirecting their energy inwards.
Like a turtle pulling into its shell.
Good analogy. It leads to a state where the mind can become absorbed in the Atman, free from the constant pull of external distractions. Imagine consciously pulling your attention inward, away from the clamor of the outside world.
Quieting the input.
Quieting the inputs. That naturally leads to dharana, concentration.
Focusing the mind.
Yes, fixing the mind firmly on a single object or point of focus. This leads to stability of consciousness. The text advises simply, where the mind goes, fix it on Brahman, indicating the ultimate object of concentration.
Holding one thought or image.
Holding a single focus steadily. When that becomes effortless, it flows into dhyana, meditation.
Deeper concentration.
It's the uninterrupted flow of attention on the chosen object of concentration, or on Brahman itself. It's a continuous, unwavering state of inner contemplation, where the mind is fully absorbed in its object without drifting.
Like a steady stream of oil.
That's the classic analogy, yes. The Bhagavad Gita is referenced here. Alma sansma krishwaki chitvichinte, meaning having fixed the mind in the Atman, one should contemplate nothing else.
Total absorption in the self.
Getting there. And the culmination of all these practices, the final stage of this progression, is samadhi, absorption.
The goal state.
The goal state of yoga, yes. This is where the mind completely merges with the object of meditation. It becomes one with it. All sense of duality, the meditator, the process of meditating, the object meditated upon dissolves.
Oneness.
Oneness. It is a state of profound peace, absolute stillness, and ultimate self-realization, completely free from all mental modifications, all vrittis.
Wow. That's the path laid out.
That's the path, step by step. However, the text is also very realistic. It addresses the obstacles to samadhi.
The pitfalls.
Pitfalls, yes. Warning the sadhak about common difficulties. Things like lack of effort or diligence. Anisanhanarhitamalaja.
Laziness.
Spiritual laziness, yes. Excessive desire for worldly enjoyments, bhagulasama, getting sidetracked by pleasures, mental lethargy or dullness, layasya, distraction, vikshepa, the mind wandering off, even craving the temporary bliss rasasvada experienced in lower meditative states, getting stuck there. And sometimes a feeling of emptiness or void, shunyata, can arise, which can be disorienting.
So how to overcome these?
The path prescribed is constant self-reflection, Admachintan, a continuous inner vigilance, observing the mind, understanding these obstacles when they arise, and gently bringing the mind back to the practice.
Constant awareness and course correction.
Exactly. It requires persistence.
That is an incredibly comprehensive toolkit for the spiritual journey. It covers everything from the external environment, the posture, the breath, right through the layers of mental discipline, and even warns about the roadblocks.
It's a very thorough guide.
It really is. But then the text introduces pratikopasana, symbolic worship. After detailing this path towards formless samadhi, why bring in symbols and worship? How does this form of practice relate to that ultimate goal of realizing the formless Brahman? It seems like an interesting interplay, maybe a bridge.
It is indeed a fascinating and profoundly practical aspect of the path described. Pratikopasana involves worshiping the saguna aspect of Brahman with form, with attributes using various supports like symbols, images, divine names, or mantras.
Using forms to reach the formless.
Precisely. The text clarifies that while the ultimate reality, Nirguna Brahman, is indeed formless, absolute, beyond all description, for a mind that is accustomed to dealing with forms and concepts, which is most minds, a symbol acts as a tangible focus. It provides a mental anchor, making the abstract more accessible, the vastness more comprehensible. It helps the seeker to connect emotionally and mentally with the divine.
Gives the mind something concrete to hold on to.
Exactly. And a very powerful form of symbolic worship mentioned specifically is Ahampra Upasana.
Oh, we touched on that briefly. Identifying with Brahman.
Yes. This is where the practitioner consciously identifies themselves with Brahman, meditating on affirmations like, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. This isn't presented as an egoistic assertion of personal power,
No.
but as a profound method for realizing the non-dual truth. It works by gradually dissolving the illusion of separation between the individual self and the supreme self.
Using a thought to overcome the thought of separation?
In a way, yes. And the key is to maintain Brahma Drishti even during symbolic worship.
Seeing Brahman everywhere.
Seeing Brahman in the symbol. The goal is to see the symbol itself as Brahman, not merely as a separate object that represents Brahman. It's about infusing divinity into the very act of perception.
That's a crucial shift in attitude.
It is. The role of mantras is also highlighted here. Mantras are seen as sound forms of deities or of Brahman itself.
Sacred sounds.
Sacred sounds. Chanting them, meditating on their meaning, helps to purify the mind, deepen concentration, and invoke specific divine energies or qualities, thus aiding the entire meditative process.
So Upasana is a support system.
You can definitely think of Pratik Upasana as a vital stepping stone, or as you said, a bridge. It's generally not seen as the ultimate destination itself in this context, but as an effective means to traverse the path from our usual conditioned, dualistic perception of reality towards the unconditioned, non-dual realization of the formless.
That makes a lot of sense as a practical approach for many people.
It caters to the mind's natural inclination towards form.
And it raises that interesting point again, doesn't it? How does this emphasis on practice, whether it's pranayama or upasana, resonate with the core Vedantic idea that our ultimate realization, our nature as Atman, is already inherent within us? We're already free, so why all the effort?
Ah, the great paradox. That's a brilliant question, pulling us right back to that core tension. The apparent contradiction between dedicated effort and the understanding of our inherent, already perfect nature. It's a paradox that lies at the heart of so many genuine spiritual paths.
It really does. And speaking of paths and understanding our inherent nature, Adhyatma Vikas then delves into the three major philosophical systems, the Darshanas, Sankhya, Yoga, and Vedanta. How do these different perspectives contribute to spiritual understanding? And how do they ultimately converge or complement each other in this pursuit of truth? Are they totally separate paths, or are they more like pieces of a larger puzzle?
The text provides a concise yet really profound overview of these three darshanas, these philosophical viewpoints. And it demonstrates beautifully how they offer distinct contributions but ultimately synthesize on the spiritual path. They are definitely presented as pieces of a larger puzzle, each offering a unique angle of vision on reality.
Okay, so let's look at each piece. Sankhya first.
Sankhya, yes. This is primarily a dualistic philosophy. Its main contribution is making a clear analytical distinction between Purusha, pure consciousness, the self, the observer, and Prakriti, matter, nature, the observed world.
Consciousness and matter.
Exactly. Prakriti is described as consisting of 24 fundamental elements or tattvas, the basic building blocks of the manifest universe, ranging from the gross elements right up to the subtle mental components like intellect and ego.
Okay, and the goal is Sankhya.
The aim is to achieve liberation, kaivalya, by discriminating between these two, Purusha and Prakriti, by clearly understanding that the Purusha is eternally separate, distinct, and untouched by all the modifications and changes happening within Prakriti. The text notes that Sankhya explains the objective reality of the universe, laying out the cosmic structure, the components.
The analytical framework.
The analytical framework, yes. Second, yoga.
Often paired with Sankhya.
Often paired, yes. While yoga generally accepts Sankhya's metaphysical framework, the distinction between Purusha and Prakriti yoga provides the practical methodology for achieving liberation, for realizing that distinction experientially.
How-to.
The how-to. It offers a systematic approach, most famously through Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs we touched upon earlier, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, for uniting the individual consciousness with the divine, or realizing the Purusha's isolation from Prakriti. It heavily emphasizes mental control and the attainment of samadhi. The text explicitly states that yoga provides the practical method for experiencing what Sankhya explains theoretically.
Theory and practice.
Exactly. And finally, Vedanta.
The end of the Vedas.
The inner combination of the Vedas, yes. This is presented as the ultimate non-dualistic philosophy in the text. It asserts the absolute oneness, the non-difference between the individual soul, the jiva, and Brahman, the supreme reality.
Atman is Brahman.
Atman is Brahman. That's the core message. Vedanta emphasizes that Brahman is the sole reality, the supreme unconditioned truth. It is the ultimate cause of the creation, the sustenance, and the dissolution of the entire universe. The text clearly states Vedanta's view that Brahman is the true essence, the underlying reality of all existence. It's the ultimate destination, the realization of inherent absolute unity.
So how do they fit together then?
Well, the beauty of Adhyatma Vikas, as presented in the source, lies in how it synthesizes these seemingly different approaches. It shows that yoga provides the practical steps, the disciplined practices necessary for the journey. Sankhya offers the analytical framework, the intellectual understanding of the underlying principles of reality. And Vedanta provides the ultimate philosophical conclusion of non-duality, pointing to the highest truth of identity with Brahman.
Map, vehicle, destination again.
Kind of like that, yes. Sankhya gives you the detailed map of the territory. Yoga gives you the vehicle, the fuel, and the driving instructions. And Vedanta tells you the nature of the ultimate destination, which turns out to be your own true home, your real self.
That's a great synthesis.
And it adds a practical note. For those whose minds are still laden with impurities, the Kashai's deep-seated afflictions like attachment, aversion, the systematic steps of Raja Yoga are presented as crucial, necessary preparatory practices. They purify the mind. However, for a truly mature mind, one that is already refined, subtle, and possesses the Satan Chatushtaya.
The qualifications we discussed.
Yes. For such a mind, direct contemplation on the Vedantic truths, nididhyasana, is said to lead to much quicker realization.
So the path adapts to the seeker.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? It means these systems aren't really in conflict. They represent different facets, different stages of a unified path towards liberation, all ultimately converging on the same non-dual truth.
That synthesis is incredibly illuminating. It's not about choosing one over the others, but seeing how they work together. Like different maps leading to the same summit, each offering unique insights into the routes and the landscapes. It really highlights the depth of integrated wisdom in Adhyatma Vikas.
It's a holistic perspective.
It really is. Now, let's circle back, maybe with this philosophical context in mind, to Adhyasa, that superimposition we discussed earlier, and its profound connection to Ahampra Upasana. Why is truly deeply understanding Adhyasa so crucial for spiritual liberation? What's the practical implication of making this fundamental mistake of identification?
Revisiting and reaffirming the understanding of Adhyasa is absolutely crucial because, as the text posits, it is the very root, the seed of all our suffering and bondage.
The core problem.
The core problem. It is that fundamental mistaken identification of the pure, eternal Atman, with the non-self, the body, the mind, the ego, and all the things that pertain to them. It's this persistent I and mine consciousness, this illusory sense of individuality that's tied entirely to transient forms and experiences that binds us tightly to the cycle of samsara. The heart of the problem is believing that the changing, impermanent aspects of our being are who we fundamentally are. It's the grandest case of mistaken identity.
Believing the costume is the actor.
Perfect. That's a great way to put it. And the analogy of the crystal is also so powerful here. Remember, a pure, colorless crystal will appear red if a red flower is placed nearby.
Right, it takes on the appearance.
It takes on the appearance of the color. But the crystal itself remains pure, untainted, its intrinsic nature unchanged. Similarly, the Atman is eternally pure, ever blissful, always free. But due to its proximity to and its identification with the qualities and limitations of the body and mind, it appears to suffer. It appears to be born, to grow old, to die, to feel pain or pleasure. It's all seen as a product of this superimposition, the fundamental error in perception.
The Atman remains untouched, but we think it's affected.
We experience it as if it is affected because we identify with the instruments, not the self. And this is precisely where Ahampara Upasana comes in as a direct antidote. It directly targets and works to dismantle this atyasa.
How exactly?
By consistently contemplating and affirming I am Brahman, the practitioner is actively, consciously disidentifying from the false self, the body-mind complex, and identifying with their true, limitless nature, the Atman, which is Brahman. This practice is about consciously, deliberately dissolving the illusion of separation.
Actively rewriting the script of identity.
You could say that. And the text discusses 3 crucial types of ahamkara, ego sense, that arise from atyasa, which we need to recognize and address through this practice.
Okay, the types of ego.
First, dehadhyasa, the identification with the physical body. This leads to thoughts like, I am this body, I am tall, I am sick, I am strong, I am weak. It limits our sense of self purely to physicality.
Body identity.
Second, kartaradhyasa, the identification as the doer of actions. This is where one believes, I do this, I achieve that, I eat, I walk. Taking ownership and agency for actions that are actually performed by the instruments of Prakriti rather than seeing oneself as the pure, actionless witness.
Doer identity.
Third, bhoktaradhyasa, the identification as the enjoyer or sufferer of experiences. Feeling, I feel happy, I feel sad, I'm suffering. Appropriating the experiences, the mental and emotional fluctuations that are actually occurring in the mind, and claiming them as happening to the true I.
Experiencer identity.
Exactly. The repeated, sincere practice of identifying with the true, pure self through Ahampara Upasana, constantly reminding oneself, I am Brahman, I am the witness, I am not the body or mind, gradually leads to the dissolution of this knot of ignorance in the heart, the Hridaya Granthi.
The knot in the heart.
Yes. This knot is seen as the very cause of all worldly suffering and bondage. It's an incredibly profound process of untying that knot. It's akin to, as you suggested before, peeling away the layers of an onion. Not to find a core, perhaps, but to reveal the space, the essence that is present once all the limiting layers are removed.
Revealing what was always there.
Revealing what was always there. The more we practice this true identification, this aham brahmasmi contemplation, the more the illusion of the limited separate self fades away, revealing the boundless ever-present Atman. It's truly about rediscovering, or perhaps remembering, who you fundamentally already are.
That's a profound unraveling. How we literally create our own suffering through misidentification, and how we can systematically undo it by constantly correcting that identification, by affirming our true nature. It leads us perfectly, then, to the pinnacle of practice mentioned in the text, nididhyasana.
The deep contemplation.
Yes, often considered the culmination of the whole spiritual journey outlined so far. How does this deep, sustained contemplation lead to the ultimate goal? And what's its specific relationship to that direct knowledge, abharakshana, that we keep coming back to? Is nididhyasana the final push, or is it more like arriving at an ultimate effortless state?
Nididhyasana is indeed presented as the very essence of the advanced stages of spiritual practice. It's the crucial step that bridges the gap, that transforms intellectual understanding into profound, lived reality.
Making the knowledge real.
Making it real. It's defined as continuous and unbroken contemplation of Brahman. A profound, sustained meditation that is considered absolutely essential for the attainment of Satchitananda, for the direct experience of pure existence consciousness bliss. It's not enough, the text implies, to just hear the truth. Shravana, or even to logically reflect on it and be convinced, Manana. One must internalize it so deeply through Nididhyasana that it becomes one's very being, one's natural state. This is where the knowledge becomes you.
Assimilation.
Deep assimilation. The text carefully distinguishes Nididhyasana from the earlier stages. While Shravana and Manana are vital preparatory steps, providing the necessary theoretical foundation and intellectual conviction.
Building the understanding.
Yes. Nididhyasana is the direct means by which this knowledge transforms into direct experiential knowledge, aparaksha janam. It's the prolonged, unwavering focus, the deep dwelling on the truth that allows it to sink in, to permeate every fiber of one's consciousness.
So it stabilizes the understanding.
It stabilizes it and deepens it until it becomes immediate experience. This deep contemplation leads to a state where the mental fluctuations, the sankalpa vikalpas, finally cease altogether. The mind becomes utterly absorbed in its true nature, revealing the unconditioned Brahman that was always there.
The mind dissolves into the self.
That's one way to describe it. This state is sometimes referred to as niralamba, meaning supportless. The mind no longer needs any object or concept to hold on to. Or sahajavastha, the natural state, where the mind rests effortlessly, spontaneously in the self. It's no longer striving, it's just being.
Effortless being.
Effortless being. And the practice of Nididhyasana also acts as a powerful purifier. It dissolves the deep-seated residual impurities, the koshayas that might linger in the mind specifically, any remaining subtle dullness, tamas, or restlessness, rajas.
Final polishing.
Final polishing, exactly. As these last subtle impurities are removed, the inherent light of Sat Chit Ananda, which is always present within, is allowed to shine forth completely unobstructed. It is through this persistent, profound contemplation, this nididhyasana, that the seeker ultimately, irrevocably realizes their true identity with Brahman.
That's powerful. The bridge from intellectual knowing to direct being, purifying the mind completely in the process. It's a journey of continuous refinement leading to effortless naturalness. But what about those persistent obstacles we hear so much about, the kleshas, the afflictions, and the vasanas, the latent impressions? How does Adhyatma Vikas explain these final hurdles? And more importantly, how are they ultimately overcome, finally burned away?
Right. Even with nididhyasana, these deep-seated tendencies can still pose challenges. The text meticulously details these internal impediments to final liberation, clarifying how they function and how they can be completely neutralized. The kleshas, as we touched on, are those 5 fundamental afflictions described originally in the Yoga Sutras, but central here too. If we're truly talking about liberation, we have to understand what fundamentally binds us.
The deep roots of suffering.
The deep roots. And Adhyatma Vikas is crystal clear. It's not ultimately external circumstances, but these 5 fundamental kleshas or afflictions that are the true architects of our perceived suffering and limitation. The deep insight is that they're all interconnected, all rooted in that one core misconception of vidya. By addressing that root, we can systematically dismantle the entire structure. Let's quickly recap them.
Okay, the 5 kleshas.
1. Avidya, ignorance. The root cause, the bedrock of all others. Mistaking the impermanent for the eternal, the impure for the pure, pain for pleasure, and crucially, the non-self for the self. It's the fundamental blindness.
The basic mistake.
2. Asmita, egoism. That identification of the pure seer, consciousness, with the instruments of seeing, intellect, mind, senses. The persistent sense of I-ness as a separate, limited entity. I am the doer, I am the experiencer.
The I events.
3. Raga, attachment. The clinging to pleasant experiences, the craving for their repetition or continuation, the pull towards what feels good.
Desire.
4. Dvesha, aversion. The repulsion towards painful or unpleasant experiences, the desire for them to cease immediately, the push away from what feels bad.
Hatred or repulsion.
5. Afinivesha, clinging to life, fear of death. This is the inherent, often subconscious will to live, the deep-seated fear of cessation, of non-existence. It's present even in the wise, it's said, though attenuated. The most primal survival instinct.
The deepest fear.
These are the active afflictions. Alongside them are the vasanas.
The latent seeds.
The latent seeds, exactly. Dormant impressions left behind by past actions, desires, and experiences. They lie hidden in the subtle body. When conditions are right, these vasanas become active, manifesting as thoughts, impulses, desires, and actions in the present.
Driving our behavior unconsciously.
Driving our behavior unconsciously, yes. They lead to new karmas, reinforcing the kleshas, and perpetuating the cycle of birth and death. They are essentially the underlying tendencies that continuously sprout into the samsara vriksha, the tree of worldly existence. The text underscores that these vasanas, fueled by avidya, are what truly perpetuate our bondage.
Seems like a formidable combination.
It can seem that way, but the good news, the core message of the entire path, is that these obstacles can be overcome. The sustained practice of sadhana, especially the deep contemplation of nididhyasana, which generates the fire of knowledge, and the systematic weakening of the kleshas through discrimination and detachment, helps to thin out or ultimately burn these vasanas.
How does burning them work?
When vasanas are thinned or burned by the fire of knowledge, jnana agni, they become ineffective. They lose their power to sprout into new experiences, new thoughts, new karmas that bind the jiva. It's like roasting seeds. They might still exist, but they can no longer germinate.
Making them impotent.
Exactly. This process eventually leads to their complete functional destruction, thereby irrevocably breaking the cycle of bondage. That Bhagavad Gita verse, 4.37, is so relevant here. Jnana agni sara karmani basmasat krutatata.
The fire of knowledge burns all karmas to ashes.
Precisely. It's like the vasanas are seeds, and intense spiritual practice, particularly the penetrating light of true self-knowledge, aparoksha jnana, dries them out completely so they can no longer sprout into new experiences or necessitate future births. This systematic, final purification is essential for true, lasting freedom.
That comprehensive explanation of kleshas and vasanas and how practice is culminating in nididhyasana can essentially neutralize or burn them with the fire of knowledge.
Yeah.
It makes the path to liberation incredibly clear. Challenging, yes, but clear. It's a beautiful metaphor, that fire.
It conveys the transformative power of realization.
It really does. And this leads us beautifully to the final concept we wanted to explore from Adhyatma Vikas in this deep dive. The Sapta Bhumika.
The 7 stages of knowledge.
The 7 stages of knowledge, or spiritual development. What does this progressive journey look like according to the text? How does it unfold, stage by stage, culminating in that ultimate realization, the very zenith of spiritual progress?
The Sapta Bhumika, 7 stages or grounds of knowledge, presented in Adhyatma Vikas, offers a really beautiful and systematic map of the spiritual journey itself. It depicts a gradual unfolding of self-realization, an upward progression guiding the sadhak through ever higher states of consciousness and wisdom. Think of it as climbing a 7-rung ladder to ultimate freedom, to Jivan Mukti.
Okay, let's climb the ladder. Stage 1.
Stage 1. Shubhacha, good desire. This is the very first awakening, the initial spark, the arising of a sincere desire for liberation, for spiritual knowledge. It marks a turning point where one begins to consciously turn away from purely worldly, ephemeral pursuits and starts seeking something deeper, something lasting, something spiritual. The seed of true aspiration is sown here.
The beginning of the quest.
Exactly. Stage 2, Vitarana, inquiry or reflection. At this stage, the seeker actively engages. They study scriptures, they practice self-inquiry, atma-vichara, they engage in philosophical reasoning. It's about intellectually exploring and understanding the principles of spiritual life, gathering the theoretical map, clarifying the path ahead.
Gathering paroksha jnana.
Primarily, yes, building the intellectual foundation. Stage 3, Tanumanasa, subtle mind. Through consistent practice, maybe asana, pranayama, pratyahara, initial dharana, and deep contemplation, the mind becomes subtle, refined. Worldly thoughts, attachments, and distractions begin to diminish significantly. The mind becomes more single-pointed, more inwardly directed. It starts to thin out, becomes less dense.
The mind gets quieter.
Clearer and clearer, yes. Stage 4, Sattvapati, attainment of purity. Here the mind becomes predominantly sattvic. It's filled with purity, clarity, light, and peace. The sadhak begins to experience profound inner tranquility and spontaneous joy as the heavy influence of tamas, dullness, and rajas, restlessness, lessens considerably. A natural inner peace and brightness starts to manifest consistently.
Experiencing the fruits of practice.
Definitely. Stage 5, asansakti, detachment. This stage marks a very significant milestone. It signifies complete dispassion, non-attachment to all worldly objects, experiences, and even subtle psychic powers that might arise. The mind is no longer swayed or pulled by desires or aversions. It maintains an equanimous, balanced state regardless of external circumstances. There is true inner freedom from craving and aversion.
Deep inner freedom.
Deep inner freedom. Stage 6, Padarthapavana. Realization of the true nature of objects, or non-cognition of objects. In this advanced stage, the sadhak begins to see the true nature of all phenomena, their impermanence, their lack of inherent substance, their illusory nature beyond just their names and forms. The world is no longer perceived as a collection of separate, solid objects, but more as a manifestation, a dreamlike reflection of Brahman. Or perhaps the focus shifts so much to Brahman that objects cease to hold the attention. Everything is seen as, or dissolves into, the divine.
Seeing the reality behind appearances.
Precisely. And finally, stage 7, Turiya, the fourth state. This is the ultimate stage, the state of absolute transcendental consciousness. It goes beyond the 3 ordinary states we experience daily: waking, jagrat, dream, svapna, and deep sleep, sushupti. It is the state of liberation, jivan mukti, being liberated while still living in the body. In this state, the individual is fully, permanently established in the self, the Atman. They experience continuous, unconditioned bliss and freedom. It's the state of complete, effortless self-realization.
The ultimate goal achieved.
The ultimate goal achieved and lived. This progressive journey through the Saptabhumika signifies the deepening of wisdom, the full blossoming of vivekakyati, discriminative knowledge, and the ever-increasing, finally unobscured manifestation of the inherent light of the Atman. It's a powerful framework showing that spiritual realization isn't usually a sudden, random leap, but often a gradual, transformative process of purification, awakening, and stabilization, leading finally to complete and utter freedom.
What an incredible journey we've taken today, Gurujans and Sadhaks, really diving deep into the profound wisdom contained within Adhyatma Vikas by Sri Swami Vishnu Tirth Maharaj.
It's remarkably rich territory.
It truly is. We've explored so much, from the fundamental concepts like Brahma and Jiva, Prakriti, the koshas, through the intricate details of Salhana, the practices, the obstacles like klishas and vasanas, and finally mapping the journey through the progressive stages of realization, the Saptabhumika.
A comprehensive overview.
This deep dive has really been, I feel, a valuable exploration of this profound wisdom. It offers us a rich intellectual understanding that parokshanana of this timeless path lay out in the text. So the question remains, what does this all mean for you, for each of us, on our personal path?
And this brings us to a crucial, perhaps the most vital, culminating message we can take from Adhyatma Vikas, especially considering our specific context, our Parampara.
Yeah.
While the intellectual accumulation of knowledge, this parokshanana we've gained today by exploring the text, is undoubtedly a valuable lamp, illuminating the path, showing us the map, true liberation, that direct realization, aparokshanana, does not solely come from this intellectual understanding. The text itself, while detailing the path, consistently points towards the fact that the ultimate transformation arises from sustained inner work.
The practice.
The deep assimilation, the relentless contemplation, and ultimately the profound surrender described implicitly in those advanced stages of sadhana. Surrender. And for those of us fortunate enough to have embarked on this journey through a blessed initiation, through Shaktipat Disha, this knowledge from texts like Adhyatma Vikas, it can be fascinating, illuminating, yes.
Why?
But it should never, ever become a priority over the primary focus of our sadhana. Our path emphasizes that the ultimate transformation is not achieved through accumulating more practices, more techniques, more personal effort in that sense.
No?
No. It unfolds by allowing the inherent spiritual force, the Shakti awakened within, to complete its own work. For the initiated sadhak, there is truly nothing else to do but to surrender, to contemplate, to remain aware, and to simply let this divine Shakti do what it is meant to do.
Let Shakti work.
Let Shakti work. Our primary role shifts, in a way. It becomes mainly about avoiding the creation of new karmas, new entanglements, and simply allowing that inherent intelligent spiritual force to burn away the existing karmas, the vasanas, the klishas.
Less doing, more allowing.
Precisely. Less striving driven by the ego, more surrender to the divine process already underway. So perhaps a final thought to consider, to reflect on deeply in your own contemplation. If the ultimate state described is one of effortless being, of sahajavasa, how can you consciously, moment by moment, integrate the spirit of surrender into your daily spiritual practice? How can you shift from trying to accumulate wisdom from without to simply allowing wisdom and transformation to unfold naturally from within, guided by the